All right. After grading your homeworks, I decided that it would be a good day to do a homework review, just so that we get all caught up on how we're supposed to do these. Our assignments can get confusing sometimes. I understand that. So this just seems like a good time to go over this. Since you have your chapter test next week. Listen to me stumbling over my words and stuff. It's gonna be a rough one. All right, these first six, super easy as far as the cosine and sine are concerned. I'm going to show you why. Your x is always the cosine. Your sine is always the y. So cosine is 2, sine is 7. To find the tangent, I do sine over cosine. Some of you mixed it up and went cosine over sine. That's the cotangent, so that is wrong. So the tan is just 7 over 2. These should be easy points on your test next week. Tangent for this one is 2 over negative 3. Cosine is negative 3. Sine is 2. Number 3, the cosine is negative 5. The sine is negative 6. And the tangent is just negative 6 over negative 5, which is just 6 over 5 because it's a negative divided by a negative. Number 4, cosine is 4. Sine is negative 3. The tangent is negative 3 over 4. Number 5, we got sine over cosine. That's negative 10 over the square root of 3. Can't leave a square root in the denominator, so you rationalize it, which means you multiply both the top and bottom by the square root of 3. Easiest way to remember how to do that is the top gets the square root of 3. The bottom stays as whatever was inside the root. Number 6, cosine is negative pi. Sine is 2. The tangent is 2 over pi. And it stays negative. So that was the first 6. We can do the same thing on 7 through 10. Our cosine is negative 2 over root 5. So our cosine would end up being negative 2 root 5 over 5. Our sine, that's just getting the square root off the bottom. Root 5 over 5. It's actually 1 times root 5, so it's not a big deal. Whenever we find the tangent, sine over the cosine. So we have root 5 over negative 2 root 5 over 5. Solve that, we flip it and multiply. Root 5 over 5 times 5 over negative 2 root 5. Wow. Those roots cancel. The 5s cancel. Some of you seem a little confused as to why that stuff cancels, by the way. It's because of the commutative property of multiplication. We can move this 5 over to here, and it's 5 over 5, which is 1. Root 5 over 5 is 1. So it cancels out and just becomes a 1. All we're left with is a negative 2 in the denominator on the bottom. So it's negative 2, and with a 1 on top. So it's negative 1/2. Number 8, cosine is root 10 over 10. Just multiply the top and bottom by root 10. Sine is negative 3 root 10 over 10. Do the tangent. That's sine over cosine, negative 3 root 10 over 10 over root 10 over 10. Flip that and multiply. Negative 3 root 10 over 10 times, the bottom's the only one that flips, by the way. Some of you were flipping them all, which just makes it ugly. All that cancels out. Our tangent is negative 3. Number 9, we don't have to rationalize the denominators. I'm going to do sine over cosine, negative 4/5 over negative 3/5, which means I flip it and multiply. 5's cancel, left with negative 4 times negative 1, positive 4 over 3. Then number 10, cosine is 0.6, sine is negative 0.8. If I do negative 0.8 over 0.6, I can cross my decimals out here. Gives me negative 8 over 6, which is just equal to negative 4/3. Okay, this was kind of a struggle for some people as well. If I was trying to identify an angle that's coterminal with the given angle, I want to get down to the simplest form so that I can find it on my unit circle. 13 pi over 6. The first thing I want to do is I want to think about the fact that I have 2 pi, which means I went the whole way around. So related to 13 pi over 6, 2 pi is the same as 12 pi over 6. So if I just multiply the top and bottom by 6. Now if I subtract 13 pi over 6 minus 12 pi over 6, or 2 pi, because that was one full rotation. 13 pi over 6 looks like this. I went the whole way around, and I ended up back here at pi over 6. So by subtracting the 12 pi over 6, I'm getting rid of this whole part. It made more sense to erase it, huh? But I'm getting rid of all of that. And all that's left now is this little distance, which is pi over 6. It says then find the sine and cosine of the given angle. If I think about the cosine of pi over 6, that is going to be root 3 over 2. And then if I find the sine, sorry about the mid-video yawn, I'm a little sleepy today. Find the sine of pi over 6, that gives me 1/2. I'm done. Let's look at number 12. 9 pi over 2. So I can subtract 4 pi over 2 because that's one trip around it. You'll notice that I end up with 5 pi over 2, so I did not take enough away. Subtract another 4 pi over 2. That gives me just pi over 2. Pi over 2 is here. So our answer would be cosine is of pi over 2 is 0, and the sine is 1. 16 pi. If I subtract 2 pi, subtract 2 pi, subtract 2 pi, subtract 2 pi, what I should actually just realize is 16 pi is a multiple of 2 pi, which means that we went around 8 times and ended up right here again, right back at the beginning. So my sine would be 0 and the cosine would be 1. Negative 7 pi over 4. I'm going to think about this as 8 pi over 4. And just subtract my 7 pi over 4. That gives me pi over 4. At pi over 4, cosine is root 2 over 2, and the sine is root 2 over 2. 15 to 23 was not supposed to be, or 15 to 20 was not supposed to be that hard. Basically, you were going to get a calculator. You were going to find the sine and cosine of these angles. So if I put 7 pi over 5 in, make sure your calculator is in radian mode, as I told you multiple times before. I'm not actually mad, I'm just trying to convey it to you. How important radian mode, I said radio mode. How important radian mode is going to be here. So the sign of that gives me negative. So I know it's in the bottom half of my graph. And then if I do the cosine of the same thing, 7 pi over 5, it gives me a negative 0.3. So I know it's going to be on the left and in the bottom, which makes it quadrant 3. That's all you had to do for that. Do sine of 11, cosine of 11. This one is low 0, and it's positive, so that's going to put it in quadrant 4. Done. Sine of negative 14 pi. No. Sine of negative 14 pi over 9 gives me that. I wonder if I can copy and paste this. I can. So then now I would just change this to the cosine. Gives me 0.17. So this is going to be positive and positive, which means it's quadrant 1. Number 18, this one was a little harder. If I do sine negative 23 pi, you're going to see this ends up as 0. If I do the cosine negative 23 pi, it ends up at negative 1. On your calculators, you may have gotten something that said like negative 4 EE to the negative 23. That just means that it's extremely close to 0, and your calculator could not have figured it out to get any closer. That's because your actual answer was 0 and negative 1 for the cosine. So then I wanted to know which part of the axis this would lie on. It would be on the negative side of the x-axis. Okay, down here it says, find the exact value of the sine, cosine, and tangent of the number without using a calculator. All you had to do was use your unit circle, as we had been doing. Let's see if I can find my unit circle here.
Ms. Golder, please dial extension 4002. Ms. Golder, please dial extension 4002. Thank you.
So now when I have 7 pi over 6, all I have to do is look at my chart. My cosine is negative root 3 over 2. My sine is negative 1/2. Tangent is sine over cosine, so negative 1/2 over negative root 3 over 2. That is going to give me negative 1/2 times negative 2 over root 3. 2's will cancel out. The negatives will cancel out. I have 1 over root 3, which is root 3 over 3. Yeah, I know. Genius. Next up was 7 pi over 3. If I look at my chart, I have a problem. I don't have 7 pi over 3. You idiot. That's not too bad to find now, because I know that this is 6 pi over 3. And how do I know that? Because that's just 2 pi. So now go pi over 3 more. I end up here. pi, that's coterminal with 7 pi over 3. Cosine is 1/2. Sine is root 3 over 2. And then I find my tangent by doing sine over cosine. Be root 3 over 2 over 1/2. Your 2's are going to cancel out. You're just left with square root of 3. Kind of nice. Number 32, we have 17 pi over 3. Kind of the same thing. I think of, hey, this seems like a really big number over 3. What number can I multiply 3 by to get this close? If I'm looking at that, that would be like 18 pi over 3. Which is nice, but not all that nice. And I'll show you why. 18 pi over 3. That's 6 pi, right? But that's too far, which means I would have to go pi over 3 back. So the better way to do this would be to look for one smaller than that. If I look for one that's smaller than 17 pi over 3, that would be 12 pi over 3. Subtract 12 pi over 3 from 17 pi over 3, leaves me 5 pi over 3. Cosine's 1/2. Sine is negative root 3 over 2. Gives me negative root 3 over 2 times 2, which is just negative root 3. This process would just take some getting used to. You just have to work with it. Have to keep practicing on it. You'll get there eventually. All right, I'm going to jump down to number 48 here. People struggled with these ones as well. Sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. What's 1/2 times 0? 0. Cosine of pi over 6 is root 3 over 2. Sine of pi over 2 is 0. I'm sorry, it's 1. I lied. So now I have root 3 over 2 times 1, which is just root 3 over 2. 0 minus root 3 over 2 is negative root 3 over 2. And I'm done. Number 49, cosine of pi over 2, that's 0. Cosine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2. Doesn't even matter. Multiplying something by 0, it's going to become 0. Sine of pi over 2 is 1. Sine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2. Now this was minus all this. 1 times root 2 over 2 gives me root 2 over 2. It was minus, so that becomes a minus. Done. Do not complicate these things. Some of you were like ending up with 0 times root 2 over 2 and ended up with root 2 over 2 somehow. Just does not work that way. Cosine of 2 pi over 3 is negative 1/2. Cosine of pi is negative 1. Sine of 2 pi over 3 is root 3 over 2. Sine of pi is 0. This whole thing cancels out. Negative 1/2 times negative 1 gives me positive 1/2. Lastly is number 51. Sine of 3 pi over 4 is root 2 over 2. Cosine of 5 pi over 6 is negative root 3 over 2 minus the cosine, which is 3 pi over 4, which is negative root 2 over 2 times the sine of 5 pi over 6, which is 1/2. When I multiply these out, a root 2 times a root 3 gives me a root 6. 2 over 2, or 2 on the bottom and 2 on the bottom means I multiply. That gives me 4. Over here it's going to be minus a negative root 2, so that becomes a plus root 2 over 4. All right, longer video today. I apologize. Just wanted to get over some of this homework. We will get into the identities tomorrow as we work through more of our sine and cosine graphs. All right, guys. Thanks for paying attention. Matter of fact, let's make the word approximation. Word of the day is approximation. If you email me that word within the next 48 hours, I will give you 5 points bonus on your chapter test. All right, guys, thanks.